daughter-in-law cut me out of my grandkids' lives for being too generous, so I stopped funding their lifestyle. Now, as their finances crumble, she's back, begging me to step in. Part 1. I'm a 60-year-old grandma who's gotten into a mess with my daughter-in-law, Kathy. This has been going on for a few months now, and I feel like I'm reaching my breaking point. My son has been married to Kathy for 9 years, and they have 2 boys, ages 7 and 5. My son had a decent job, and just before COVID, they bought a house. Then, the pandemic hit, and he lost his job. Since then, he's been struggling financially to pay the mortgage and make ends meet. Kathy has been a stay-at-home mom since the eldest was born, intending to return to work ever since the younger boys started walking, or so she says. I don't know their exact plan. All I know is that I've been pitching in for most of their high-ticket purchases and even bailing them out on the regular stuff like school fees and the house mortgage. I even helped with the down payment for their house. I could go on, but that's not the point here. I've always done my best to support them financially, covering everything from school fees to family vacations. I've never considered this a burden. I love making life a little easier for them. However, I've never used this as a chance to overstep my boundaries. I've stayed in my lane. Despite this, Kathy doesn't reciprocate the affection. She doesn't even appreciate it. It feels like she's tolerated me, probably because I cover so many of their bills. Our relationship has never been warm, but it wasn't hostile either. Lately, however, it's gotten worse. She's started pulling back, canceling family gatherings, and cutting down their visits to my house. Up until 2 or 3 months ago, the kids would visit every month for a weekend or at least for a day. Now, it's been months since they visited. Every time she cancels, she has increasingly flimsy excuses. Sometimes it's school assignments, sometimes a swimming competition, or, as ridiculous as it sounds, that they're too tired for a drive. When I asked if I could visit them, she pulled out absurd reasons: either the house was dirty, or they were visiting her parents, or they just wanted a silent weekend. It seems like every month, she finds new ways to distance the kids from me. Initially, I thought it was unintentional, maybe due to life's pressures or her being busy. But now, I'm starting to think it's deliberate. I don't know how much longer I can take this. It feels like I'm being quietly pushed out of my own family. Update 1. It's much worse than I thought. She's banned me from seeing my grandkids, which honestly feels like a knife to the heart. This all started with a phone call 2 days ago. My eldest grandson, though only 7, called me and said he missed me and wanted to come over. When I asked if his parents knew he was calling, he hesitated and then quickly hung up. That call broke my heart. Clearly, the boys miss me, and I couldn't bear the thought of him feeling like he had to keep it a secret. I messaged both my son and Kathy, explaining that Ben had reached out to me. I asked if there was a problem with him visiting or if he was even allowed to speak with me. The message went unanswered. The next day, I got an angry email from Kathy accusing me of manipulating Ben, interfering with their parenting. She subtly called me a bad influence and said she didn't want me to spoil the kids with materialistic stuff. This was devastating. Until now, I'd done nothing but offer help, kindness, and love. Her reaction felt wildly disproportionate and cruel. After a few sleepless nights and advice from friends, I decided to confront it. About a week later, when my son came to collect the monthly check, I asked if something was wrong and why Kathy was avoiding me. He brushed it off, saying she was busy or stressed. He's a peacekeeper by nature and rarely stands up to her, so I wasn't surprised, but I couldn't drop it. I finally asked him outright if his wife had a problem with me, why she couldn't simply tell me. After some hesitation, he admitted the truth. Kathy apparently decided, without warning or discussion, that I was spoiling the grandkids by giving them too many gifts. She claimed I was overstepping and creating problems. Her solution was to cut down on grandma time. I was floored. This wasn't about spoiling the kids. I'd never crossed boundaries. I gave gifts for birthdays, Christmas, and occasional treats. Nothing extreme. Even if she had a problem with that, she could have told me to stop, and I would have. There was no reason for this extreme behavior. When I asked my son why she hadn't come to me about it, he mumbled that Kathy felt insecure and thought the kids liked me more than her. That was the real issue. She was jealous the kids liked spending time with me. I asked if he was okay with his children not meeting their grandma. He tried to dodge, saying it was temporary and that Kathy would loosen up soon. He asked me to be patient. I teared up. I didn't know what else to say, so I ended the conversation. That night, I got a call from Kathy. She screamed that I was trying to manipulate my son against her, accusing me of talking behind her back. She said, "You meddled with me, now face the consequences, you're banned from my children's lives forever." I was stunned. How could she just ban me from my grandson's lives? I couldn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day, my son called from work, apologizing for Kathy's behavior. I asked him what had happened to make her blow up at me like that. He explained that he had been discussing with her about letting the children meet me since he knew how upset I was. She apparently took this as a betrayal, accusing him of talking behind her back, She laid down a firm rule that I was not allowed to see the children anymore. Curious about what had pushed her to take this drastic step, I thought back to 3 months ago when I'd taken my grandsons to Disneyland. They'd been wanting to go for a long time, and we had a fantastic time. The boys couldn't stop talking about it afterward, which apparently made Kathy insecure. Instead of feeling happy for her kids, she saw it as me overshadowing her. How ridiculous. Children talk excitedly about cherished experiences, especially something like Disneyland. But instead of embracing their joy, she was jealous. How shallow of her. I asked my son directly, "Are you okay with your children not seeing their grandma?" He tried to dodge again, saying, "It's just temporary. Soon Kathy will loosen up." I could barely hold back my tears. I told him if he was content with letting this slide, then he shouldn't expect me to continue financial support. He protested, saying that cutting off funds wasn't fair and that I should give notice. I couldn't believe his audacity. Then he asked, "Would you still give us the money if Kathy unbans you?" I was floored by his nerve. He was treating me as if I were some object to be negotiated with, without any feelings. I told him, "I helped you because I loved you and the boys, regardless of your wife's coldness. But after witnessing her cruelty, I can't continue." He fell silent, realizing I wasn't backing down. Things went quiet for a while. Part of me hoped my son would come to his senses. Instead, I heard from extended family that Kathy was telling everyone I was withholding money to control the family. She made it sound like I was punishing them for not obeying me. It hurt to hear, but I bit my tongue and decided to let it go. I focused on healing, knowing I had given them enough of my time, energy, and support. I started volunteering for social service and made a few new friends who understood the pain of being ostracized by family. Every now and then, I'd get a text from my son, usually late at night, just checking in. I knew he was struggling, but I was done compromising my self-respect.